Now I'm going to paste in the CSS for the little arrow which will go at the top of our notifications, giving them that final touch. This is a snippet from CSStricks.com, and the convenience classes are just designed to make the color match the built-in Bootstrap colors such as warning, error, info, success, and so on. These color codes were pulled directly from Bootstrap CSS itself if you're wondering where they came from. Now that we've got the notifications themselves done, let's add a little extra something to the success notification. Since most of the time it'll be used when a user updates their shopping bag, we'll add a little preview of the bag right there in the notification. Let's begin by wrapping the original message in a row and a column and putting a horizontal rule under it. Beneath that, we'll render the shopping bag items, but we obviously only want to do that if there's a grand total. The header here is just a simple paragraph which shows the number of items in the bag in parentheses. Then for each item in the bag, we'll render a new row split into columns of 3 and 9. The first column will contain the image, and the other 75% of the row will have a paragraph for the item's name, size if it's applicable, and the quantity in the bag. I'll also wrap this whole block of code in a div with a class of bag notification wrapper, which is going to restrict it from getting too large, and we'll add the CSS for that in a moment. The last row here is just a single column, which will contain the bag total, a notification about free delivery, and a button to go to the shopping bag page. At this point, you've seen most of this code in other places across the site. It begins with the total and adds a note that it excludes delivery if there is a free delivery delta. Then if there is a free delivery delta, we render a paragraph to tell them how much more they need to spend in order to get free delivery. And finally, a button which points at the view bag URL. The only thing left to do to finish this is to add the CSS for the bag notification wrapper, so let's head to base.css and do that now. This whole div will have a max height of 100 pixels, have horizontal overflow hidden, and vertical overflow will turn into a scroll bar when the height is greater than 100 pixels. Let's save the CSS, open the site, and add a few items to the bag. Now, as you can see, we have a nice little preview of what's in the bag every time we add something to it, and can access it nice and easily by clicking the button. This completes the majority of the navigation, sorting, searching, adding and updating products, and other core functionality of our store. At the moment though, users still don't have a way to check out. I'm going to commit these changes and push them to GitHub, but before we move forward, I want to point out one additional thing here that's unrelated to what we've done in this video, but is important nonetheless. While this is most likely not affecting your projects, you might have noticed that in these recordings, each time I've pushed to GitHub for the last few videos, I've been getting this notification that GitHub found a security vulnerability in my project, and it gives me a link to learn more about it. I've already looked at this and I've opted not to fix it at the moment, only because I know it won't affect this project, but I'll share with you how you can decide for yourself if something like this is critical. Let's open this link and take a look. It's notifying me that there's a moderate severity vulnerability in Django, and it's found the affected version in my requirements.txt file. If I click the vulnerability name, it provides some details, specifically that these versions of Django are affected by a SQL injection vulnerability, which affects applications that offer downloads of rows of data where users can specify their own delimiter. Basically, it seems that Django's string_ag class was not handling delimiters correctly, and thus was able to be passed some malicious SQL as the delimiter, and that could result in your application executing that bad SQL against your database. The reason I'm not concerned is because our application doesn't allow user downloads of any kind, and doesn't use this string_ag class anywhere, so it's not a critical issue. If it were, we could easily fix it by just changing our requirements.txt file to use Django 3.0.3. If you look here, GitHub has even created an automatic pull request for us to do this, so we could just merge that pull request in if we wanted. I'm not terribly concerned about it at the moment, so I won't do it for now, but knowing how to understand these vulnerabilities is important to developing secure applications, so it's good to learn how to interpret them. If you need more info on any vulnerability, you can also Google this CVE number, which will give you all kinds of information, and sometimes even example code that exploits it. Moving forward, in the next video, we'll create the checkout app and start building our store's payment system using Stripe.